Welcome to the Supergeeks podcast. My name is Ross. I'll be taking the eyebrows of Doom himself, and once again wielding the Doom Hammer. This is my show again tonight, and I shall rule with an iron fist and the rule of absolute Wait, that was yesterday. Anyway, we're back. We got a bunch of stuff to talk to tonight, and we are joined once again by our favorite mascot, Index, aka Sanseal.
Hello, everyone.
Our wonderful and attentive producer, Justin.
Hello.
And the man with the plan and the inside knowledge, Sean.
What's up?
Are there pants tonight?
There are, only because I didn't want to walk across the backyard in my underwear. That's the only reason why.
Well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's jump right into it, shall we? Let's start off with the news that really rocked all of us today. A friend of the show, Kowalski, broke the news that all of the quote-unquote rumors and inside sources and news that have been circulating all over the place and all over our favorite people over at the Fandom Menace have been absolute and utter bullshit. Who wants to take this one on?
Well, I'll start. Kowalski, he has far more of a stomach than I do for this, and I really appreciate the fact that Nick is just so dedicated to ferreting this stuff out and exposing this nonsense when it occurs. And I didn't even want to put as much effort into reading these as much as he did, but right down the line, it's like I couldn't believe it that they put that all this crap that they were running with, that Doomcock, Necorandom, and everyone else. And by the way, Tom Counters from Midnight's Edge, he claimed to me via PM that we didn't believe any of this. We didn't run any of this.
Why did you make videos of it proclaiming it to be true, you dumb shits?
Yeah, this is the thing. Is like I didn't want to waste my time to go back and watch his stupid fucking videos, so I didn't bother to follow up on this. So thank you, son. Index, thank you for indexing that for us. But yeah, it was brilliant. It says the words the sentence of the paragraph, the beginning letter of each one, I don't know if Justin can put that up for us. It's a fake and trolled on all the claim. It's so brilliant, and these idiots fell for it. It's absolutely amazing.
It's very satisfying to know that that the worst of the rumors that we all just shook our heads at, that there's no way that these could be true. Nope, they weren't.
Yeah, and what's particularly interesting about this is that they're claiming that it's trolls from CBS that spread all this disinformation. It's like, you idiots, 4chan is nothing but trolls. What do you expect? And they're not from CBS. They're just trolls out trolling the trolls, is all it is. And we get a big troll circular rhythm and motion here going until everything just explodes like it did in a big gooey mess all over Doomcock's face. Wow.
It's the troll circle of love.
Yeah.
And it was such sweet justice. I did not laugh as hard as I did whenever I've seen all the comments roll in Fandom Menace on Twitter, all trying to backtrack and go, oh no, we never believed a word of it, and then quietly delete every single video they put up about it.
Oh, they did?
Some of them, yeah. And I said deleted a few of their videos.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
The necessary files have been archived. Thank you, 4chan.
Oh, it will live forever somewhere on the internet.
And the beautiful part about that is the amount of time and effort that those idiots put into those videos, okay, was all based on bullshit, which means that they couldn't spread other bullshit, which is always positive.
What if there was any credibility? There is none now.
Yep.
But yeah, they're trying to backtrack and claim that, oh yeah, we never believed it in the first place, which everybody called it. So it's hilarious to see this, and I hope people remember this and realize that these people have zero credit, that they're all full of shit. And
Yeah. Dude,
It sounds like Carlos needs to start a new blog. The Menace
No.
Monitor.
Seriously. I mean, yeah, and Doomcock
Expand Axa Monitor.
Doomcock is so full of shit because he says, here's what he says. He says that, this is what I love. He says that an insider, what does he say here? Well, I'm pulling it up again.
Let me put it this way. His name is Doomcock. He seems to be full of piss, and he sure can't take it.
Yeah, the rumored CBS insider known only as anonymous. You fucking idiot! 70% of the accounts on 4chan are called anonymous. You fucking moron. Christ.
Yeah, whenever it benefited them, their rumors were credible sources.
Oh, of course, exactly. Yeah.
Oh boy. All right. Any last words, last thoughts before we move on?
Nope.
No, that's
Well,
pretty much more like ha 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 ha. They got
Fuck them hard.
In
Next subject.
a related story, speaking of trolls and the less positive aspects of our fandom, sadly, Wilson Cruz, the actor who portrays Dr. Culber on Star Trek Discovery, was recently the victim of a bunch of said assholes who decided to use his behind-the-scenes insights and tweets of the development of Discovery to propagate their own bullshit theories and ongoing dislike or hatred of Discovery, which has prompted him to cease any and all behind-the-scenes looks. He hasn't left Twitter or social media, but that insight into production is gone.
And what screwed up? All his post was about how tiring production was and how he's just pushing through to make it through the end of it. I mean, it was just a tiring day for him, and that's all it was. And they're all like, "Oh, does this mean Discovery's canceled? Is there no more?" And how
does one translate that into Discovery's canceled? I mean, like I said, I've recently talked to a guy, a buddy of mine who's in the industry, who talks with these crew guys that are actually on set. And it's like they're working 12, 16-hour days there, okay, on set. Of course that's tiring. Are you kidding me? It's exhausting. In fact, like as I was pointing out to you guys, they're actually extending it an extra week to accommodate an older actor who simply can't do the 12 to 16-hour days. So you've got these, younger guys like Cruz and the rest of the cast that's younger and of course this is exhausting for them, and then they're going to add another week onto it. I mean, on top of all this, So it's how I don't understand how someone would interpret a statement like that as to mean that the show's canceled. Where do people come up with that?
It's implied bias is what it is. Justin, go ahead.
They're idiots. They have no clue how production works. They don't know anything about the behind-the-scenes nature of stuff. They think, we're just going to interpret his words and we're going to use it to spin our own line of bullshit because we don't like the show. Well, you know what? They got shut down quick because people are getting tired of their shit.
It's an implied bias. Someone who doesn't like the show or wants to see it fail will take any and all information that, it looks like trouble on set, and they'll run with it.
And usually when they do this, they actually, it's funny because they actually, they'll make a connection that is as stupid as it is. At least there's a linear path to it. You know what I'm saying? And they become so desperate for anything remotely negative to support their confirmation bias that it's just borderline absurd. That's why I was asking, what could he have possibly said that would make them believe it? He's talking about long days at work. It's like when I talk if I talk about long days at work, does that mean that my company's going under? I don't think that's what that means. It just means I'm working hard, assholes. That's all it means. I'm going to read Wilson's tweet. By the way, Wilson sat right in front of me at the Star Trek Picard premiere. Did I mention I went to the Star Trek Picard premiere?
Many times.
Okay, I just want to make sure I mentioned that. Okay, here's what Wilson said. You know what? I'm done. I won't be posting anything else about the experience.
Bring it up again.
What's that?
I said, bring it up again
Oh, don't
while
worry,
I'm
look.
holding the hammer.
Okay, Wilson Cruz. You know what? I'm done. I won't be posting anything else about the experience of production. Way too many people take it as an opportunity to project, justify whatever uninformed theory they've created in their minds. So I'm done. I'll see y'all at the premiere of multiple seasons, you fucktards. I added the you fucktards at the end of that. But yeah,
He's way too polite to say that himself.
Yeah, I know, and I'm. It's really, you know.
This is why I'm glad I don't have a Twitter account.
I very rarely use mine at all.
I mean, if I was someone like Cruz and probably contractually obligated to give little updates here or there over what I'm doing, I'd do that and then not pay attention to Twitter at all.
Well, that's just it. He's not obligated.
He's not, and I think Wilson. This is what I think has been lost about Wilson Cruz when it comes to the fandom. Since before the premiere of Discovery, the original first season, Wilson Cruz was with the rest of the cast members at STLV, at San Diego Comic-Con, enthusiastic about his new place in the Star Trek franchise. Mm-hmm. And it's rare to see guys who we haven't even seen him in a single episode being that enthusiastic. He's tried to embrace his fandom, and it really is sad to me that certain segments of that fandom have pushed more. I'm going to give him a big fucking hug this summer when I see him.
That's just it. I
swear to Christ.
He hasn't been pushed away. I replied to that message, and I looked at the comments, and the majority of them were all people apologizing on behalf of the assholes.
Right, exactly. Right.
The majority of the people who were there were supportive and positive and apologetic, of course. He still seems excited about the show and the fandom. He's just not feeding the trolls anymore.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that he can't do something nice like that, give us some kind of insight without it being feeding the trolls. So that's what's unfortunate about it.
All right, we've spent a lot of time on this subject. Let's move on to something positive and Star Trek related. I don't remember what account shared it, but images have been floating around of the actual 10 forward set that was built for the opening scene of Star Trek Picard Episode 1. It was actually a full 10 forward set. Who had the link to that? Justin?
Hey, Travis has joined us.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome, Travis. Glad to have you back.
Always happy to be here. Sorry I'm a little late to the party. Oh, there we go.
Not a problem at all. Justin, you're still muted if you're trying to say something.
There we go.
There it is.
Let me see if I can share it.
Hey, what's that poster behind your big melon there, Travis?
Behind my big melon?
Yeah, directly behind you. What is that?
That's Godzilla.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. Because for like with your head blocking it, it looks like the Picard poster. It really does. So
I've had my eye on a Picard poster, but
me too.
I had my eye on season 2's Discovery poster, but I haven't gotten. So I've got a bunch of other crap.
So Justin had the image up. We were just talking about the set for 10 forward, which was revealed to be a full physical set and not a mostly CG or green screened one. So that's pretty cool. What do you guys think?
Well,
they have room to work with Guinan in season 2.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh yeah.
Considering she said yes, Whoopi Goldberg said yes to being Guinan. So we'll definitely start getting flashbacks of 10 forward and Guinan.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's really, it's exciting the level of detail they put into this, and I think what makes it easier for them to be able to afford to be able to produce sets like this is the fact that so much of Picard is grounded and not starship based. No fewer than 3 times did we see the Anaheim Convention Center in the first 3 episodes repurposed. We saw it for the Archive, we saw it for Starfleet Command, and we saw it for the Daystrom Institute. Repurposed every single time, and because of, with CG effects on the outside of it for the exterior shots, but being able to do that opens up a lot of doors for sets, for production budgets, to be able to produce something like that and to make it, believable and realistic. And that's great, man. It's so nice to see that it wasn't just a couple of tables and then CG all the way around them, because they can do that. I mean, sets are one of the few things that they can very easily just do in CG. I mean, look, I'm even going back to 2012. If you look at the Battlestar Galactica one-off they did, Blood and Chrome, that entire thing was shot on green screen. That entire thing. Not a single bit of that was practical sets. And you can never tell. I was like shocked when I found out. I was like with Doug Drex, I was like, really? I said, not a single, nothing, absolutely nothing was practical. And they can do it. Sets are easy. It's because they don't focus on set pieces. They focus on characters. They're quick shots, so you can get away with that a lot. So it's like I said, it's really cool to see that they went all out and really just built this whole thing up from scratch, and got us our familiar hangout from Next Generation.
Travis, what do you think?
About the 10 forward, I thought they did a fantastic job recreating it. I haven't seen too many of the photos that since they released that news article that was shared in the group, but I mean, just watching the production scene of the series, I mean, I've gone on record to call that opening scene perfect for an introduction to the show, and I feel like they put a lot of heart into it. And if they bring it back for season 2, especially considering the fact that Whoopi will, be joining for season 2, I have a feeling that we're only going to see more put into it, and I'm always eager for that.
Well, here's a question for you then. You think that's the last time we're going to see that set?
Considering, again, Whoopi will be joining, I would imagine that they might bring it back. I mean, normally I don't think they would go through the trouble to build something like that to such a scale just for one shot.
Well, I mean, this season. You think we're going to see it again this season?
I was, I was actually about to say that we might actually potentially see it in a future dream sequence.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Travis brings up a very good point about building that kind of a massive set for what amounts to, I think, 2.5 minutes of, at the most, of footage. That's in and of itself is not very cost effective to do. And then you look at, and I'm reminded of the bridge of the Enterprise in Discovery. And there's no fucking way in hell they built that for just those 2 episodes. I cannot believe they did.
That was a beautiful set.
You have to know that thing is being, it has tarps on it, waiting a tarp over it right now, and waiting to be repurposed again. So
give it to us, CBS. Give it to us.
Yeah.
Son, how about you?
I just, to be honest, I just like staring at it. Honestly,
I agree. I'm like the same way.
I mean, I don't care if they reuse it one way or the other. I just want to. I wish I was there to take pictures because it's pretty.
Yep.
Nice.
I could just
All right.
out there.
Final thoughts, final words?
Andy Colley will have a recreation of it on his new.
That would not surprise me because he is recreating he's expanding the TOS set tours to, now it's going to be the Next Generation set tours as well. So that would not surprise me if 10 Forward was in the mix.
Yeah, that don't surprise me one bit if Colley winds up with it. That would be a good place for it to go.
Yep. I tell you what, though, like one of the saddest things ever, we live in Vegas here. Remember, the Star Trek The Experience was out here in Vegas. And
something I never got to see.
Oh, I feel so sad for you both because the Klingon adventure, right, where you actually walk into, it starts you off and you walk right into the Enterprise D bridge. It's still the coolest fucking thing ever. It was so great. And
I can imagine.
oh God, yes.
So here's the sad
Well,
thing.
on the plus side, that set is still around and was updated and preserved. Unfortunately, it was done by a pedophile.
Yes, unfortunately, yes. That is the downside. He whose name shall not be spoken. And by the way, when I found out about that was the fastest unfriending I've ever done in my
I
life.
interviewed the guy to talk about the Hollywood Sci-Fi Museum.
Yep.
It's the only video I've ever deleted off my YouTube.
Rightfully so.
I
Yeah.
believe I remember that.
See, here's the sad thing. I never found out there was a Star Trek experience until after it had been shut down.
Oh no.
I think both
So
with you.
you guys have the hope of having maybe one day gone and then have it dashed. I guess ignorance kind of is bliss because I didn't
Yep.
even know what existed.
Right.
It's like finding that awesome band only to realize that the lead singer's dead.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Or the band broke up because the lead
Yeah.
singer was a diva.
Right.
All right, so moving on. Who's doing the review of the Kirk Fu manual?
Probably
Not
James.
me.
Hams.
Because I have it on the list, but I don't know who's doing it.
I haven't read it yet.
I haven't read it yet either.
I don't have it.
Okay,
This definitely
So-
seems like a Carlos thing.
all right. The Kirk Fu combat manual exists, which is cool.
11
Yet,
This
but
sounds like a Dayton book.
It is a Dayton book.
It is a
That's
Dayton
why.
book.
There you go. There you go. It's like this sounds like a Dayton book.
Yeah, it is. And who else? But our favorite. Yeah. And I was like, I'm just thinking, God, we gotta get him on the show again, man.
maybe we can get him on for next week and talk about it on next week's show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we'll talk about it next week then.
Yep.
Carlos, this one's all you. So, rumors are going around that Section 31 is being pushed back in favor of something else.
Whoa.
Carlos, where's Carlos?
Sean.
Car-
Sean.
Oh, I thought you were just generally talking to Carlos in the ether somewhere.
No,
Okay.
no.
All right, so here's I will tell you, I've had people contact me about this, industry people and friends of mine who are huge Star Trek fans and also happen to be in the industry, legit, reliable sources on this. Okay, and I was contacted by
Quote,
one of my
unquote.
what's that?
Quote, unquote.
Well, no, mine are actually good.
Sources.
So basically, what happened, as far as I understand it, what happened is, if you look at it's on one of the production websites that when the industry websites, it shows all the production dates and where it's being filmed and things like that. Section 31, basically, 2 weeks ago was set to be filming or starting production in May up in Canada, and then like a week later, on the same production note, pushed back to 2021. And I think it's called Wind Cleaver. That's the working title of the show. It's it's like Blue Harvest. It's to hide what it really is. That was the first I heard about that when that was sent to me by someone else. And then a couple of days later, my industry guy I know said, "Have you heard anything about being canceled in favor of a Pike set?" I said, "I heard about being not canceled." I'm like, "Whoa, step back, not canceled, push back." I don't know, Christ, I'll start my own fandom menace shit here. Okay, push back. And I said I had heard about it being pushed back. I didn't know anything about it having to do with the Pike series. And he said that he had gotten information from a buddy of his that they were given instructions to stop production on the sets for a couple of days. And then in 2 days, they were told to tarp it up, wrap it all up, and crate it and get it back. And for Section 31. And at first, he said, I didn't believe it at first because I didn't know the guy that well. And then he sent in some, shall we say, very strong supportive photographic information that shows that he knows what he's fucking talking about. And then he got almost an identical story from somebody else that would have insight into it that basically confirmed that this was the case, and that they were, and here's the big part about this is that they're doing this. This all has to do with there's a lot of scheduling things going on with the actors, primarily. That's the biggest part here. And that they're going to be doing this in lieu of filming Section 31, starting Section 31 production on it now. Come October, I believe it is, they're going to start production on the series that we've all been begging for, and that is the Pike series. So that is the story at this time, as far as the information I have. Like I said, it's. I always tell people that anytime I hear anything from quote unquote sources, that I'm always skeptical. But my source on this, and this is the only reason I'm bringing this up, normally I would just keep it behind the scenes, we talk about it. My source on this is so reliable and has so many different contacts because he's in the industry himself, and that I'm comfortable enough sharing it. I came around and asked him. I said, do you mind if I share this on the podcast? He said, yeah, that's fine. Just don't give away X, Y, and Z details because I don't want the people who gave me this information to get into trouble. So, that's where it stands. So based on the information I have right now, Section 31 pushed out until production until next year, and Pike begins production in fall of this year. So yeah.
That's, if true, is very exciting.
Yes, indeed.
Like you said, I think all of us can agree. I speak for everybody when we say we want a damn Pike series.
Fucking A.
We want
Holy
Pike.
shit.
We want Ramajin. We want that set. We want that crew. We want Spock.
Yep. And you know what? And this is the thing that what disappoints me about Discovery Season 2 is that we were talking about number one, and I think we've discussed this before, how little she was utilized and how we really saw her break out at the end of the season. And then in that magnificent short trek that she was in.
Oh, yes.
I loved it so much. And people hate that. I don't understand how you can hate that. It was so much fun. But it's like...
It's the kind of bottle episode people have been asking for that they lament doesn't exist in this kind of television.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you want. Why are you bitching?
Yeah, exactly. It was so clear. Go ahead. Because what?
It looks too pretty.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the whole thing's not done in a cardboard box, so it's not real Star Trek, right? I understand. But yeah, so it's like I keep thinking about this, like the Pike show. It's like between before it was just between Anson Mount, Ethan Peck, and it's like I'm really looking forward to the trifecta of Peck, Mount, and Romaine. I think it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be wonderful. So,
And
blew my.
I would think when you see an announcement about this, we ought to see it this summer at Comic-Con. I would think.
I would imagine that's where it would pop up. I would think that would be the case. Yep.
And something that kind of blew my mind as I was looking up the cast. Rebecca was the original Mystique in the first X-Men movie.
Oh, you didn't know that? Oh,
no.
Well, I knew that.
I didn't know that either.
Talk about parallel 8 degrees of Star Trek.
Yeah, I had it's funny because it was a game that you remember. Of course, there was with the 8 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah,
in the '90s was a big thing. Well, of course, I had a game with my friends because we're nerds. Okay, and that was 1 Degree to Star Trek. And at that time, there was literally there wasn't a film out there that did not have that, excluding indie films that have 3 cast members in it. But there was not an indie film or not a regular major motion picture made at the time that did not have at least one person that had appeared in Star Trek along the way. I mean, that's how saturated, the era was with Star Trek during the '90s.
Son, haven't heard from you yet.
I'll let Justin speak.
Even all the Police Academy movies had Star Trek stars that's peppered throughout them.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we get the Police Academy movies, but okay, yeah, I'm not surprised by that. You get character actors. That's what Trek is during the '90s was. was really remembered for a lot was just the amount of professional character actors that were on each series. And sure, that's going to happen without question. You know, it's like there's a great movie. I brought this up before. It's a great documentary called. I think it's something along the line. I think the title was "You're That Guy from That Movie," I think, or something like that. Or you're that guy who was in that thing. And basically, it's a documentary about character actors in Hollywood, and they do a whole section on Star Trek in this film, and all these actors talking about when you came to Hollywood in the 90s, okay, to start your career and to get work, you did Star Trek. That's what you did. Everybody did Star Trek back then, you know, and it's true. It just how many actors came out of that, you know, that we see all the time.
Was it that guy who was in that thing?
That's the one. Thank you. Yep.
All right. Any final thoughts on this topic?
See, this is the thing. I actually hate that I have a contrarian opinion here.
It's your thing. Go for it.
I actually feel bad for the actress that plays Philippa for not having a starring role in a series yet that she's had like thrust upon her since season 1 of Discovery.
Right. Well, here's the thing. From what I understand, the biggest conflicts with that series are with her, with the amount of work she's getting. She's
very
got
busy actress.
Very busy. I guess she's got Crazy Rich Asians 2 coming out.
Oh.
She's going to be in that. And, you know, that was a huge hit that I've never seen, but it's like, from what I understand, it was a very popular film, the first one. And, you know, she's just got a ton of work. So don't feel too bad for her because she's definitely getting the work. And this is what's keeping her from doing it. So we should be just glad that Michelle Yeoh's getting the work she deserves. Because here's the thing, and I will point this out. I've said this from the beginning, and I've gotten shit about saying this. In the first season of Discovery, I did not like Michelle Yeoh as Giorgio. I thought she was terribly miscast as Giorgio. Exactly. People hate that when I say that. And it wasn't her. Because it's like, for example, I think Scott Bakula was a terrible choice for Captain Archer. And I begged for Bakula to be a captain on Star Trek. I always thought he would make a great captain. I just think he was poorly cast as Archer. And that happens sometimes. That said, especially in season 2, as the evil Giorgio, as the Empress Giorgio, I love her. She's delicious.
I swooned when she did that hiss.
Yes. That's great.
On your note of Enterprise, I'd argue that most of the characters in that series just fail to stand out. So I'd hardly.
Yeah, I mean that's I don't think that's a bad argument in general, but what really sticks out like a sore thumb is the captain of that show, you know, because that's where the story always revolves around in Star Trek. So
see, the weird thing about Enterprise is all the adult lady fans of Trip. That was creepy.
It's so true.
Well, I mean, Voyager, you had all the male fans over 7 of 9. So
well, that was the purpose of bringing her on, and then she became so much more.
I mean, Enterprise was already super uncomfortable as far as its like portrayal.
The decon
yeah.
Like that episode, I watched that not too long ago when I was ranking the Star Trek pilot episodes, and I was just like, I had to cringe so hard when there's
so cringeworthy.
That enter this like exotic alien bar, and there's like a magenta and a blue naked female alien doing this like belly dance thing, and then like occasionally their tongues will come out like frogs and they'll be eating these butterflies, and I'm just like,
you know, we're going to be seeing that again next week, right?
What's that?
We're going to be seeing that again next week, right?
We are.
Free Cloud, hello.
Oh yeah. Well, you know,
right.
here's the
moving on. We got to move on. We spent a lot of time on the topic.
Real quick, the problem with sex in Enterprise was kind of like it was. You get the feeling that it was your Uncle Gary trying to write sex scenes, and it was just weird and uncomfortable all the way through.
Yeah, that's about it.
All right, let's get away from Star Trek for a little bit and get into the world of DC, starting with the big news that Robert Patterson's first costume tests have been made public, and we now have a glimpse of the first Batsuit. Have you guys had a chance to look at that?
Yeah, I did.
My roommate showed me a glimpse of it. I didn't really I didn't look too hard into it because I'm not the biggest superhero guy a lot of the time, but I am trying to get more into Batman in particular because I do find him to be one of the more interesting ones.
So I watched the clip, right, that they showed, or that was on Twitter, that was first shared in our chat, and I was waiting for Shirley Bassey to start belting out a Bond song. I'm not gonna lie. That's what that music sounded like. I swear to God, she was about to start singing "Diamonds Are Forever."
Oh my goodness! The
second thing that I noticed was, my God, he reminds me of the CW's Barry Allen Flash.
Yeah, well, am I live here? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
you're still.
I don't mind. I guess he's supposed to be a very young Batman, right?
I guess so.
You know, the biggest complaints I've seen about this is the outfit itself. And Christ, who gives a shit? I mean, okay, I get before that. What are they saying? That it's sort of too angular. It looks like it was, it's cut cardboard or something.
Okay, so I can understand that people are getting upset, but I didn't see these people getting all pissed off when Tobey Maguire had that weak-ass Spider-Man outfit in the first Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see getting upset about a costume unless it's so completely foreign. And look, here's the thing: that costume, if you just get away from the movies. In the comics themselves, there's been so many different iterations of them. I mean, look, okay, here's the thing. He's got a cowl, he's got a black cape, and he's got a big fucking bat in his chest, okay? Boom.
And
there's your Batman costume.
They have the gizmos and...
Yeah, I mean... Right.
I mean, just look at Adam West's costume from the 60s.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the thing. Can this please be the Batman who goes back to the original DC the DC detective novel comics, where he's killing people and breaking into houses and shit? Can this please be that Batman?
I hope so. I mean,
that would piss so many people off.
Oh, yeah.
Batman doesn't kill. Batman should fucking kill, okay? I mean, look, Batman's just a rich version of the Punisher. It doesn't kill nobody. That's all he is. Let's be honest about that. I mean, yeah, and here's the thing. I like Robert Pattinson too. Is the thing, okay? I mean, he's a good actor. I don't ever want to hear if I hear Batman doesn't sparkle one more fucking time, I'm going to lose my mind. It's like that's the only thing the guy's ever done.
Pattinson has a Batman jaw. Let's be honest. He has the Batman jaw.
He definitely does.
He will break your face with his fucking jaw.
I keep forgetting that the Twilight guy playing Batman this time.
Yeah,
just keep in mind that was almost 20 years ago now.
Yeah,
yep.
Something like.
Yep.
I'm terrible with actors most of the time, so that's probably why I was like, oh yeah, that's right, the Twilight guy's playing.
Yeah.
Well, I thought the costume looked pretty cool, pretty standard with how superhero movie costumes are, kind of armored and plated instead of fabric and Kevlar or cotton, whatever. So it fits with the current design of what we see from superhero costumes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's fine, and it even kind of it has a feel. Actually, reminds me of the like, for example, the kind of costume design on Titans, for example. Yeah. That's what I got the feel of, and I love Titans. So if it's going to be if they're going to go darker with Batman this time around, I'll be pleasantly surprised. I'm happy. Look, I make no bones about this. My favorite Batman series is the Christian Bale. Why am I losing my mind? We're trying to remember. Christopher Nolan. Yeah, the Christopher Nolan trilogy.
And people were complaining about that one being dark.
Yeah, and I those are my favorite ones, and I don't make any bones about that. And I did not mind Ben Affleck as Batman either. I'm sorry, those movies aren't worth shit, but he was fine. I thought he was fine Batman, but it's like anything. You give them something new, and nobody wants it. Everybody's gonna complain about it. Just tell a good fucking story. Don't fuck up another movie, and we'll be happy. That's what it comes down to.
Who hasn't said anything yet, son?
I opened the whole conversation.
Yes,
remember,
Justin?
Well, I'm hopeful. It looks like it's going to be a hopeful different iteration of Batman. Let's hope they don't screw it up. I'm hoping they go the little darker direction. From the looks of it, it looks like it might be a darker Batman. So we'll have to wait and see on this.
you never know. They might take. You never know. They might take 6 months and turn Batman into an echidna. That's a Sonic joke for those who are not in the know.
All right. Any last words before we move on? All right. So on the other side of the DC spectrum, last week Harley Quinn, or Birds of Prey, and the something Emancipation of Harley Quinn.
I mean, they've renamed it a third time?
No, they did not rename it. They just changed the official name of the movie has not changed. Just the search title for the movie has changed.
Oh, they changed the name of the movie. Okay.
Yeah,
They haven't changed the billboard name of it.
I don't understand.
I thought they
that.
did.
Why would they add more onto it to make it?
No, they didn't add anything. They just took it away. It's just Birds of Prey Harley Quinn.
Okay.
Better search. It's more searchable that way.
Okay.
But as you might guess by our confusion, the movie has not been doing very well.
I don't care.
Look, I'll be completely honest. A lot of people were instantly turned off from this movie when Ewan McGregor said this is a feminist film. They literally just said, nope, and walked away.
I mean, I haven't been following any news on this story. I just, the DCEU is something I have seen a total of one film from this entire movie cinematic universe. And
which was
that Aquaman of all things.
You got the good one.
I do. It's a very enjoyable film, but I just I've heard a lot of not so good things about Suicide Squad.
Sure.
I still cannot believe that movie fucking beats Star Trek Beyond at the Academy Awards. I actually didn't know Harley Quinn was getting her own movie until it already came out. So.
Yeah, I knew it was coming out. I had no idea when. I was as surprised as anyone else on Monday morning when it was announced that it did shit over the weekend. I was like, this film was released. And not for nothing, but, here's the thing. It came out. Who releases a superhero movie in fucking February? Unless you're Deadpool and can
Wait a minute.
that shit.
It's even worse than that, okay? There are people who I watch on YouTube who saw the marketing in Walmart and thought, oh, it's a direct-to-DVD movie.
Yeah, I was about to say, as soon as you said that, I said direct-to-DVD. That's what people probably thought. Yep. Oh my God, it's like they've done shit marketing in this movie, and it's out in fucking February. They have no one to blame but themselves.
And the only marketing that has carried any weight has been that interview where Ewan McGregor goes, this is a feminist film. I mean, literally, that's the only thing anybody has ever said about Birds of Prey.
Is he in the movie?
Yes.
He's,
I wouldn't fucking know that.
He's Black Mask, I think,
Oh,
right?
okay. Sure. Here's another question. Tells you how little I know about this movie. Is Margot Robbie? Is she again?
Yes.
Harley Quinn. Well, that's good at least because I like her.
Black Canary is apparently in this movie too.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, but not the Black Canary from the CW.
Did you guys see the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? By the way,
I have not.
Okay, it may be my favorite Tarantino film ever, and I love Tarantino films. She's fucking brilliant in this movie. She is so good in this movie. It's a wonderful film. And it made me fall in love with her entirely as an actress. So she is absolutely fantastic.
Margot
So
Robbie is pretty awesome. She was the saving grace of Suicide Squad for me.
Without question, yep. And you know what? Here's the thing. I'll say it too. I didn't mind Jared Leto as a Joker either. It didn't bother me.
My wife is still obsessed with Jared Leto's Joker.
Yeah, he's pretty good. It's an interesting
He
take on
was
it.
a better Joker than the Joker that was in this latest film. Yeah.
Whoa! Whoa! Are you talking about Joaquin Phoenix's Joker?
Yes.
Whoa,
That's some controversial shit
that's
right there.
some controversial
I know it
shit
is.
right there.
I know
Wow.
it is, but Jared Leto nailed it as a Joker. I'm sorry, he nailed it.
But see, that's the thing. Jared Leto's Joker is just an absurdist Joker.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole point of his Joker. His Joker is the Joker that's gone way too far.
Yep. And which is fine. I mean, I love different interpretations. I loved Heath Ledger's interpretation of him. I love Joaquin Phoenix's. I love Jared Leto's. I say this constantly. I am still the least impressed with Jack Nicholson's. I like Cesar Romero's way more than Jack Nicholson's. That's just me.
Well, that was a different time, so they didn't want to push the Joker too far, I guess.
But that's because Sean grew up with Cesar Romero's Joker.
I was 13. I was 12 when Batman came out. Mike Keaton's Batman.
I will say this: my Joker will always be Mark Hamill.
I like Mark Hamill's.
He's a great Joker. Yes.
My sisters and I also grew up with the Adam West Joker. So,
all right. Any final thoughts on this subject before moving on?
The animated series is way better than this movie. So if you haven't watch it. You won't be disappointed.
Well, that's where Harley Quinn came from. So.
Yeah.
Well, the newest animated series that they have going on.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, from one movie to a movie that was expected to bomb, Sonic the Hedgehog, with great anticipation and no small amount of controversy, finally came out this week. And on the one side, the professional reviewers seem to universally pan it. They did not like it at all. Surprise. But the user rating is damn near perfect.
I am so happy about this. I cannot begin to tell you.
And it is number one in the box office right now, blowing past everything. And it apparently is the highest grossing video game movie ever.
Get the fuck out.
Detective
Pikachu? Yes, it is.
It beat out Detective Pikachu.
Wow. Holy shit balls.
No, wait. Here's the thing. The domestic 3-day for Sonic the Hedgehog is by far fields farther than them pulling both the anticipated international and the domestic release for Birds of Prey. they tried to make it look like Birds of Prey had raked in a lot of money by anticipating the worldwide release market. And Sonic, in just its domestic opening, has just like blown
past it.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm glad about this? I'll tell you why. Because this film, how do we put this? There's no bullshit about what this film is. This film is very self-aware. I can tell that just from the trailers I've seen. Okay, it's not fucking around here. This movie is not made for me. And I'm glad. This movie is made for my kids who have recently discovered the joys over the past year of Sonic the Hedgehog, the games, the cartoons, and everything else. Because usually the problem with this shit, all this nostalgia franchise shit, it's always they try to make a balance here of targeting my generation and have it something that my kids can enjoy. They've done this with Star Wars. They've done this with several other franchises.
Mm-hmm.
This is no bullshit.
Super Mario Brothers, the movie.
Perfect.
Which is not a bad film. I don't care what you guys say. It's not a bad film.
Hey, look,
it's a vanity. It's so bad it's good.
Yeah, look, you know my feelings. You know my obsessive, compulsive behavior when it comes to the Star Wars Holiday Special. So I'll give you Super Mario Brothers. No. The thing about this though is like they're saying we want your kids to go see this movie, and you know about this movie because this is something when you were a kid, so you'll take them, and it fucking worked because that's it. And I'm getting a little. I got to be honest. I'm getting a little tired with our generation thinking we own this pop culture shit. Give it to my kids. They're the ones that really are the ones that are enjoying it now. Make it for them. And I'm glad they did exactly that. It's apparently why it's become so successful.
But that's also part of the reason that there was the 6-month pushback. The wait is because the fans of Sonic said, no, I don't care if this is directed towards kids. You're not going to give kids something that doesn't look like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Not only that, it was just a horror show to look at.
I think that's the bigger issue here is that I think they took a step back and said, fuck, that looks awful. Is what happened. You know, I don't think it's so much that they were appeasing fans. It was more of an issue of, ish. You know?
Well, even so, it does. The visual is that they were appeasing fans, though.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Right, and that's the narrative that a bunch of outlets ran with too, to demonize the fandom.
Yeah, they gotta stop doing that with trying to make them look too human. Is the thing.
Just look at that! Oh my god, it's just terrifying.
You know, it's like I'm still. Anybody else still freaked out? Anybody? What's that movie?
It looks like somebody tried to order a Sonic the Hedgehog fursuit off of Wish. And got it. Somebody running around in it for the film.
That's amazing. That's perfect. I reminded them. Okay, what's that Disney? Is it Zootopia? That Disney film?
Yeah.
And you've got Shakira as Gazelle. I'm uncomfortable anytime I see that movie because of her, because she's a little bit too arousing for an adult, for me being an adult. I'm sorry. And I was reminded of this at the Super Bowl halftime show where she's wearing the same fucking outfit that Gazelle wore in Zootopia. Creep me out completely. Stop doing that, please.
Look, I got a website for you, Sean.
No.
Her Affinity.
I have a better website for you, Sean. It's called iBleach.
That's my type of website right there.
All right. Who hasn't said anything yet?
I will say that the tomato meter right now from critics stands at 63%.
That's not bad.
That's not bad for that for me like that.
Yeah, it went down a point over the course of today, but the reviews are mostly good, and those that aren't, those that are projected as rotten are, I'll be honest, Revenge of the Woke kind of outlets. the ones who have peddled the narrative that this is fan backlash that got the film fixed, and this film is terrible because of it.
You know, I really, it's so bizarre to me that people think that these professionals that make these films are incapable of recognizing when something just isn't working. You know, I mean, fan backlash, no, but they probably, I know how these things work. They bring people into, you know, do surveys, and they gauge how audiences react to this stuff. So fan backlash, no, but you know, you're canvassing your potential audience, yes, is more likely, you know, the cause of this, you know, and they see what's working, what doesn't, and they fix it. It's not really that complicated. You know, just giving the fans that much credit, I think is silly. I mean, you know, they're not, Hollywood's aware that the biggest complainers are a vocal minority anyway.
The ones who aren't even going to really see it.
Exactly. Right. But that was pretty fucking horrifying. Holy shit.
All right. Final thoughts?
Actually, when I think about it, I forgot about this. When that first came out, even my kids said that was horrifying. That's true. I forgot about that. Have you seen the Sonic trailer? No, why?
Oh
It's
my
horrifying.
God.
and the arms are the wrong color. Oh, okay.
I remember when it first came out, they had fans that were going in and fixing the trailer using deep fakes to make it look better. They're like, this is how it should look. And they were doing a better job than they did the first time around with this thing.
Hey, does anybody here ever watch any Sonic cartoons? It's still to this day.
It's been a while.
My roommate has Sonic X, The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog,
awesome.
and
Sonic Underground is my favorite.
I watched Sonic Boom a little bit, but my favorite one will always be the 90s Saturday morning one.
I would like to leave everyone with the opinion of CNN's movie reviewer. Obviously one of the rotten reviews.
Clearly.
Sonic the Hedgehog might move like a bolt of lightning once his feet start flying, but even with the orthodontia done to correct his chompers, the movie bearing his name still goes nowhere fast.
They were expecting Citizen Kane, apparently.
Much like CNN going nowhere fast.
I brought this up. I think it was yesterday, and when we've come to see critics put themselves into liking a film or not, and there's Travis, you were talking about this, that you know
a little bit.
When you see a movie, you go to review a movie. You go, did I have fun? And I think a lot of these critics do that, but they don't apply a second question: is it, will this appeal to somebody else, anybody else? And I think a lot of these critics have forgotten that.
Yeah, I agree, and it's like, I remember that idiotic review of Picard in Entertainment Weekly. And I don't mind criticism, and there's things to criticize, but it was just so absurd and appealing to a certain audience, and the point was for the critic it was clear that they wanted to be the contrarian. Son, you just are the contrarian, okay? You don't try. That's just you. This guy was going out of his way to. Shits all over it, but at the end gives it a C. I mean, well, okay. It just...
That's still a passing grade, you asshole. What the fuck?
Exactly. Right, exactly. And you're talking about it like it's fucking Battlefield Earth. I mean, come on. But it's like a case like that where it's like I start to think that with a lot of these reviewers, and this isn't for the most part, because I generally think that most reviewers do their job professionally and they know what they're talking about, and I do tend to rely on the more credible reviewers. But there are some reviewers out there that seem to just want to make a fucking name for themselves just for being contrarian and not looking at things like you said, like, will this appeal to X audience? And that's a big thing right there. I mean, if you're reviewing any kind of product, I think it's incumbent on you to look at the ability of a product to meet a certain consumer's needs. And when they don't do that, I think that's a failure. I agree with you entirely.
I guess everybody wants to make a name for themselves being the villain critic from Ratatouille.
Right.
All right, let's move things along.
By the way, my favorite and most unsung Pixar film, I'm going to have to say Ratatouille. I love that movie.
All right. So, speaking of nostalgia and bringing an older property into the forefront, Kevin Smith's Masters of the Universe has its Skeletor in Mark Hamill.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The Joker is playing Skeletor.
And I couldn't think of a more perfect character to have that high-pitched mechanical laugh.
This is amazing. Is it going to be the animated series Skeletor, the one that was so comically just evil? Is it going to be that Skeletor?
I'm pretty sure this is Kevin Smith we're talking about.
Okay, good. It's not going to be Frank Langella's Skeletor. God bless Frank, but seriously. Oh, now I'm happy. I'm so happy.
Now, he's not the only person who is announced in the cast. Let me bring it up. Masters of the Universe Revelation is the name of the series.
It's a series?
Yes.
It's going to be on Netflix.
Okay, is it... Please tell me this is live action.
Ooh.
Animated, I believe.
Oh, it is? Oh, damn it.
Mark Hamill's a little old to be doing Skeletor in live
I don't give a
action.
shit. Put makeup on him and de-age his ass.
So,
He's a
Mark
skeleton.
Hamill-
You can't de-age a skeleton. How do you de-age a skeleton?
Mark Hamill is Skeletor. Lena Headey as Evelyn.
Yay.
Chris
Perfect.
Wood as Prince Adam or He-Man. Sarah Michelle Gellar as Tila. That's a good one. That's really good casting right there.
Yeah.
Liam Cunningham as Man-at-Arms. Stephen Root as Cringer. Diedrich Bader as King Randor and Trapjaw. Griffin Newman as Orko. Tiffany Smith as Andra. Henry Rollins as Triclops.
Get the fuck out.
And Alan Oppenheimer, the original Skeletor,
Skeletor.
as
Nice.
Mossman. Susan Eisenberg as the Sorceress. Alicia Silverstone as Queen Marlena. Wow.
God damn, this is a cast.
Justin Long as
Wow.
Roboto. Jason Mewes as Stinkor.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can see
Okay,
him doing
so
that. I can see
Phil
him
Lamar as Hero. Tony Todd as Scareglow.
doing Tony
Nice.
Todd.
Cree Summer as the Priestess. Kevin Michael Richardson as Beastman.
Holy
Kevin
shit!
Conroy himself as Merman. And
Yes.
Harley Quinn Smith as Lena.
Damn.
Okay, so
So what I'm
Cringer-
hearing is they want to go all out in beating She-Ra's ass.
Fucking A.
Yeah.
So basically, if like everyone else, I am looking forward to Stephen Root as Cringer, an entire episode of him obsessing about his red stapler. That's all I'm saying. That's what I demand from this series.
And I gotta say, once again, we've got Lena Headey as the Queen Bitch of the Universe.
Perfect.
Is she not always typecast or what?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that started right, and now then we forget that she was also Sarah Connor too, and she was a great Sarah Connor.
She was Cersei Lannister. She was Queen of the fucking Spartans.
Yep.
She was, as you said, Sarah
Perfect.
Connor. She just keeps getting typecast as these badass, sometimes evil, always domineering women.
Yep.
And now,
Yeah.
right?
So what you're saying is put her in black spandex and leather and give her a whip.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
And,
I mean, isn't that what she's wearing in He-Man?
and now you've
Yes.
got a website, and now you've got yourself a website. So there you go.
So
I wish we
other
could cast Michael Jackson. Then it would be He-Man.
So other standouts here: Alicia Silverstone as Queen Marlena. That's a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, what's a surprise is how many big names are
Yeah.
in this animated
Well, I
series.
mean, it's Kevin Smith, so I mean, he's
Yeah.
bringing
And speaking of, I guess I shouldn't be surprised to see Jason Mewes in there.
no, because ever since he's gotten clean, he's been in a lot more of Kevin Smith's productions.
Yeah.
There it is.
There you go. There you go.
I'm really excited to see Kevin Conroy in this. My Batman right there. And Tony Todd. Holy cow.
Yeah,
As a scarecrow.
Scare glow.
I can't wait to hear that.
You guys, I take it you guys have all seen the toys that made us.
Yes.
I have not seen that. No.
It's on my list.
It's on my list.
Oh, you will love it. Yeah, it's great. And the first season is they do a whole episode on the He-Man franchise. It's wonderful. It's great.
Well, that was one of those series that was made to sell toys.
Yep, specifically.
All right. So, any final thoughts on all this casting goodness?
That's fucking amazing.
about He-Man, so I got nothing to say.
Really? Damn.
I did not grow up with He-Man, and
it's just proving how old I'm getting. God damn it.
Neither did I, but I still enjoy the series.
I never watched
How
this.
old are you, children? Oh my God.
I will be 30.
I'm
You
35.
Oh, fuck all you. God.
The show was in syndication by the time I was actually able to remember watching TV. Come on.
God. Youngins, all you. God, man.
My show is TMNT.
Oh, yeah. Tim Jimmy Turtle was great.
Yeah,
That was-
Michael
that was
Bay.
The
Anyway,
original-
moving on.
the original X-Men.
There you go. There you go.
If I had to-
So, about last year, there was a movie trailer that dropped that caused a fair amount of controversy because of some of the wording and the way the trailers was put out. It was called The Hunt, and the impression
Ooh,
people
yes.
got was that it was a movie about the elites hunting the deplorables. So it was
Mhm.
Democrats fighting hunting down Republicans and all sorts of. Even the president started tweeting about it in his outrage over the whole thing.
I mean, we've had a movie like this before with John Leguizamo. It's called The Pest.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a particularly new concept, to be honest. This
The
notion
Purge.
Yeah, I mean, well, this notion of it's been done, I think, on The Outer Limits. I think it's been done in Twilight Zone. Of this notion of the super, I think there's even been films of this where the super wealthy, they hunt human beings. I mean, look, if you wanted to really get into this, you can get into one of my favorites of all time, which is Deadly Prey, which is a complete dog shit B movie.
Battle Royale was always my favorite of them.
Yeah, it's not a new concept. I mean, so I'm not really sure what.
So it's resurfaced now after all of the previous controversy blew over, and the marketing has completely changed. Its tagline is now the most talked about movie of the year that no one has seen.
Perfect.
Here's the blurb.
Awareness.
12 strangers wake up in a clearing. They don't know where they are or how they got there. They don't know they've been chosen for a very specific purpose: the hunt. In the shadow of a dark internet conspiracy theory, a group of elites gathers for the very first time in a remote manor house to hunt ordinary Americans for sport. But the elites' master plan is about to be derailed because one of the hunted, Crystal, knows the hunters' game better than they do. She turns the table on the killers, picking them off one by one as she makes her way towards the mysterious woman at the center of it all. From Jason Blum, and the producer of Get Out and The Purge, and David Lindelof, creator of the HBO series Watchmen, and co-creator of the TV series Lost, blah, 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 blah.
I just remember the last time I saw this movie. It was 10 years ago. It starred Adrian Brody. It was called Predators. It's the exact same fucking movie, except for no aliens are involved.
Well, here's the thing that actually gives me a little hope for this movie. It's being produced by Blumhouse.
Yeah,
And they have not disappointed.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like, yes, they've. Didn't they do Get Out? It was not like
They did Get Out.
Right. Okay. They've had some hits and misses since then, but yeah, but you've got Damon Lindelof associated with this, okay? And who else did you say was with this?
Jason Blum.
Jason Blum, right? Okay. And so give it a fucking chance. You know what I mean? I mean, I can't really with those you put those kinds of names attached to it, you got something here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this might be worth
Written by Lindelof and Nick Kurse. Directed by Craig Zobel, Z for Zachariah, and The Leftovers.
yeah,
And, of course, produced by Blumhouse. Executive producers Zobel, Kurse, and Stephen R. Mullen.
these are good names attached to it. Good creative people. So yeah, I mean, now that we've gotten past all this nonsense about it, now I'm actually kind of excited to see it because Predators sucked.
Travis, what do you think?
I have no connection to this news story either. This is like me.
This is just exposing his bloody neutralness.
Yeah, I'm a neutral
I
guy.
have no strong feelings one way or another.
If I die, tell my wife I said hello.
Justin, how about you?
I got to tell you, this is probably one of the best marketing strategies that you do. Do something that's
Yep.
bound to piss off everybody so bad that it makes everybody talk about it, and then retool it and bring it back out right before release. I mean, that way everyone's already been talking about it. I mean, your tagline said it. The movies everybody's talked about, but no one's seen. I mean,
love it.
you know, that's fucking brilliant.
It's self-aware and it's sticking it right in your face.
And
It's
the
brilliant.
posters are all the blurbs and quotes people made about it before. Oh, deplorables.
Oh, it's great.
I love it. I love it. They're taking it.
All right, everybody, brace yourselves. Son, what do you think?
About the movie,
Yeah.
if it is what the marketing tried to push in the beginning, it's going to fail rather quickly, but it has to be released first.
Well, yes, in order to fail, it would have to be released first.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I mean, to me this feels like a snakes on a what was it, on a plane?
snakes on a plane?
It feels like a snakes on a plane situation where they've got all this hype built up, and then the film comes out and it's like, that's it? That's it? There's a movie about snakes on a train that's 10 times better than this crap.
Hey, I like snakes on a plane.
And there was also Die Hard 2, not Die Hard, The Siege 2, which also took place on a train. That was fun.
And then you had Snowpiercer.
Yes. Oh God. Snowpiercer. I wanted to be so much more.
Snowpiercer can be so much more if you believe the conspiracy theory
Was this?
that it's set in the Willy Wonka universe.
That's great. That's perfect.
Ted,
You did it. I'm sold on that. I'll take it. And it just raised.
I will
that
give you a
film.
link to that video because holy shit, does a lot of stuff line up really weirdly and oddly with the Willy Wonka stuff.
oh God. You
All
really
right.
here with Wonka.
Any final thoughts before we move on?
I'm not neutral.
All right. This week, some interesting news came out of E3. Son, would you like to take this one?
Interestingly, Jeff Keighley has hosted segments of or done interviews for E3 for the past 25 years. In fact, it was E3 that made him a name in the industry to an extent. And this year for E3, given how the ESA has said they're changing the way that they do E3, Jeff Keighley, with his insider information, although he can't publicly share it because of NDAs, said, yeah, no, I'm out this year. And he's not the only one. Sony's out. Nintendo's been out for years.
Sony's out for the third year in a row.
Microsoft is going, we don't know if we want to be a part of this anymore. About the only thing that is holding up E3 at this point are Bethesda, Ubisoft, EA,
Devolver.
And Devolver's always kind of been the counterculture for E3. So yeah, they're going to be there just to mock the fact that nobody's at E3.
Okay, so quick question here: what's the big change at E3 this year that's causing such backlash from such big names?
The numbers at E3 have been in decline for a few years. It's up to this point. It's always been it's been a trade show for the video game industry.
Sure, I know what it is.
You had the big publicized presentations by the big publishers and hardware developers,
Right.
but you also had all of the player 2 controller manufacturers there peddling their stuff, and all of the peripheral manufacturers and indie game developers. It's always been a press event. The last few years, they opened it up to the general public to try and get more people in. But with all the different alternatives to get your information out there, the relevance of E3 has been in decline for a while. So this year, what the ESA is trying to do, both to get interest and to kind of mitigate the controversies they've had over the last couple of years, is to turn E3 from a trade show to a a marketing and a fan and influencer event
Oh,
that turned it into a Comic-Con of gaming.
Yeah, it's
God.
it's essentially like them going out of their way to hire PewDiePie to play Escape from Tarkov. That's not going to end
Well,
well.
no wonder everybody said, no, pieces, we're out.
So, oh Jesus! So it's basically like that stupid YouTube convention they have every year.
VidCon.
VidCon, yeah. that's the one.
VidCon was good for a while until it was bought out by, I forget who bought it.
Google.
No, it wasn't Google.
It's somebody else.
I forget.
But no, the weird thing is a lot of people just look at the past 5 years of what's gone on in gaming marketing, and with the language that is being used by the ESA to how they're going to do E3 this year. It seems like we're going to have somebody who's going to be like Trevor Noah introducing Battlefield 5. God, that was a slog to sit through and watch. It was only like an hour and a half, and it felt like I'd been sitting there for 5 hours watching Trevor Noah from The Daily Show talk about Battlefield 5, and I'm like, why? Why is this here? Why is this a thing? I mean, I get it, but you could at least put some enthusiasm into what you're doing, Trevor.
Or when
exciting.
Or during the Game Awards when you had Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez on stage. Oh yeah, I'm a big gamer. I remember playing Tekken as a kid.
Oh no. He said Tekken?
No,
Ooh,
Michelle did Tekken.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That would even piss my wife off, who's not a gamer, but who's a huge Tekken fan. Holy shit.
But Vin Diesel was standing right there and wouldn't even correct her.
Oh, man.
And Vin Diesel is so nice in real life. Correct her on stage.
Well, see, here's the thing. It's like I've been to CES for the last 2 years, okay? The Consumer Electronics Show. That is an industry-only thing, and you can't get into it unless you're industry. I cannot imagine if they open that up to the general public and try doing that shit like with E3 to try to market like.
There'd be a lot more drone porn on the internet.
What's that?
There'd be a lot more drone porn on the internet.
Yeah, sure.
Is the AVN still next door to that?
No, it's actually in the same building, and it's usually a week later. That's usually how that works. So, you know, but
the last couple times I watched coverage of it, it was happening at the same time.
Yeah, the AVN's huge. I don't know how they could do it. I mean, because fuck, CES takes up the whole goddamn thing. Plus, CES is so fucking big, and I'm not kidding about this. I'll share pictures later. That the major companies like BMW, like Google, they literally build on Sunday or over the weekend before CES. They build full structures. I'm not talking like, you know, temporary type things. They literally build full buildings in a week's time with fucking roller coasters and shit, and then tear it down a week later. Wow. They don't fuck around. It's crazy.
I hope they have the safety regulators out in full force.
Oh yeah, it's Vegas. They do. Trust me. They don't fuck around with that in Vegas. No.
But yeah, no. I think there've always been two big problems with E3, and that is it's always looked to by gamers as the news source, and it has been for years. Until we started getting a lot more internet communication from the Tokyo Game Show, what is it, Gamescom in Germany, like the other gaming shows around the world started becoming a lot more mainstream for getting gaming news and breaking gaming news.
And Jeff Keighley's Game Awards has become a big source of new announcements and previews.
Do you know when E3 to me hit its peak, where I enjoyed it the most? This is back when G4 was a thing. I love G4. I love that fucking channel. It's so sad that it went away. But I would get excited about E3 with their coverage of it every year, and it was a blast. And it was clearly, and I understand the distinctions you're making, son, about and Ross, about what it was and what it's become. It was clearly, an industry news thing, and now it's just Disneyland is basically what it's trying to do, and I understand why that's turning off gamers. I completely understand it. It was fun to, as nerdy as it was, watch guys go up there who actually work for Sony, talking about the PS Vita. I remember that. I got excited about that. And now,
and then you got a PS.
Then you got
like, man, this is shit.
Yeah, then you
I miss
get
my
one.
PSP.
Yep. But and then things like that, and it was like, now it's like I can imagine it's like, well, now we've got they're going to have a YouTuber up there, like you said. PewDiePie is going to be up there, or Logan Paul is going to be telling you about the next cool thing, and you just want to throw up.
I don't think Logan Paul's allowed to do anything in public like that just yet after what happened.
Not on my watch.
That's the difference.
Antonio Brown was actually pretty decent, though. Credit where credit is due.
Well, hey, and Keanu Reeves' appearance this last year was a major highlight for the Cyberpunk presentation.
Yeah, but that's different because he knows an audience.
Yeah.
And he knows how to work an audience.
Yep.
You're breathtaking.
He knows how to do a presentation. He knows how to do.
Everybody wishes they had been that guy, considering that guy got rewarded for heckling, because what he did was heckling.
Yeah. You got to know how to work a crowd, exactly. Especially that crowd. So.
All right, let's wrap this up. Any final thoughts on the slow decay demise of E3?
I'm such a hipster.
All good things.
Because I preferred G4 before it was G4, back when it was Tech TV.
You way precede me. I only found out about that because of a documentary I saw. So I didn't even know about Tech TV.
I missed out on E4, but they all migrated to Machinima, and that was my thing for a while before it imploded. All right, so our next topic, getting away from games and back into film, legendary actor Rick Moranis is coming out of seclusion and retirement, coaxed away by Disney to return to the role that made him famous in a reboot of
Lord Helmet?
The Kids.
Oh, God damn it.
That's not a reboot, actually. It's a sequel.
Oh, sequel. Okay. Nope, not Spaceballs. Sorry.
Damn it.
I don't see Spaceballs 2 happening without John Candy.
No.
Without who went up?
Without John Candy.
Oh, no. Oh, who are you going to put in there? All the other fat comedians are dead, too. That's the only problem with this. God.
See, look, when I think of a sequel to Spaceballs, I think of it like the Onion article from, 10 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Of, this was around the time of The Phantom Menace, and the Onion article was Jonathan Lipnicki tapped to play Dark Helmet in Spaceballs prequel.
That's a choice right there. Oh, that kid's cut, by the way. I don't know if you've seen it.
Apparently, in 2018, he did come back as his role in Spaceballs for an episode of The Goldbergs.
Yes.
Oh, Rick Moranis? See,
Yeah.
I don't know if people are aware of this, but the reason why Rick Moranis disappeared off the face of the earth, I read an article.
Because his wife died.
His wife passed away, and he wanted to devote his energy to being a parent, a father. And that is what he has done for the last 20 years. And I have nothing but respect for him for doing that. Good for him. Absolutely, focusing on what's really truly important in life. And it's good to see that that he's coming back though too. I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see that. I'll go see it. It's got Rick Moranis in it. I'll go see a sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
He's playing Zelensky again too. So it's not a reboot. It's literally a sequel. He's still the dad. It's just that the The genius kid is now grown up and created the next Shrink Ray.
So apparently there's differing reports. Some say that it's going to be an exclusive film on Disney Plus, but Deadline's also reporting that it's going to be a full theatrical release. So we don't know for sure yet.
I'm watching this in the corner. This is amazing. From the Goldbergs. Outstanding. Well, here's the thing. I either way, it'll be interesting to see if they actually go that big with a Disney Plus film. If they have that much faith, it's gonna. I think that if they do that, that's really gonna break a lot of molds here, because the feature films like that they've had on Netflix, like they've tried to make really big films. And again, I understand that Netflix has gotten, they've even gotten Academy Awards for their films on here. They're more of the ones that they've done, like, for example, the amount of acclaim The Irishman got. Well, The Irishman isn't the type of movie that would make a bunch of money in theaters. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. A lot of these really good films on Netflix aren't the kind of movies that are moneymakers. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids would be a blockbuster, a summer blockbuster film, a sequel to it. So if Disney has enough faith in that film that they can put it on Disney Plus and bypass the summer blockbuster release schedule, the tentpole schedule, that says a lot about the state of the feature film industry and the streaming industry as well, if Disney has that kind of faith in it. So I think that's like the most interesting part of the story right here. Is it going to be on Disney Plus? Is it going to be in the theaters?
It'll be fun one way or another.
Yeah.
I grew up on the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movies.
Oh yeah, you did. I was in my late teens, early 20s, I think.
I hope Disney does it justice.
French class.
So corny. But my favorite scene in that movie, without question, is when they're in that big cookie. Oh God, I want to be in that cookie.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, so good.
Those movies were like some of the most classic fun movies from that era, and I really hope whenever they do bring this back, they actually do it justice. And don't
I don't expect Disney to fuck that up. It's not like this nonsense that they've tried with, like, what was the recent one, The Lady and the Tramp, on there?
Oh God. Big thumbs down.
Yeah,
if you're going to actually remake a film, make it different. Maleficent was an excellent example of this. I'm actually looking forward to Mulan because it looks like they're remaking it as a kung fu movie and not just a retread of the whole thing. I watched Beauty and the Beast and I was depressed because it was like a muted, subdued example of what it used to be. And then Lion King, it didn't fit. It didn't work.
Yeah, I want them to stop doing this, is what it comes down to. Because, and actually, I will say, Beauty and the Beast, I actually thought it was pretty good. I was surprised it was done as good as it was. But every other entry into this has been a disaster. But I saw the trailer for Mulan during Rise of Skywalker, and I was like, fuck, this looks really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
That looks amazing. That I'm looking forward to seeing. I've never gotten that feeling from any of the trailers of these films that have come out, these remakes.
I had the same feeling about Mulan as I did the Netflix Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It's like, oh, this looks really cool. I'd like to see it. Wait, what? Who's not in it? Nope, I'm out. It's like, I had that same reaction with Sabrina. It's like, what? The cat doesn't talk? I'm out.
I think that was that not my complaint too? That that fucking kid. There better be a fucking talking cat in this, or I'm completely out.
And I've not watched a single episode of the Netflix Sabrina. It's like, I know the cat doesn't talk. I'm out.
I watched 2, and it just didn't do much for me, is what it came down to. I just kind of lost interest really quick with it. But yeah, same thing. I mean, because I think universally speaking, you can't go wrong with a talking cat in anything, period. So there you go. Justin, I saw you had your cat over there a moment ago. Oh, he's back.
There it is.
There he is. What's the kitty cat's name?
Mine? I just
Well,
call
yeah,
him
but-
Boss Cat.
You call him Boss Cat?
Call him Boss Cat.
Got it.
Meow.
Mine was here earlier in the podcast, perched on the chair.
Yeah,
Didn't
mine.
turn-
I've got
yeah.
my power button covered this time, so it doesn't accidentally turn off my computer.
Yeah, my cat's kind of hilarious. I've never seen a cat that's so opposed to being outside the house in my life. Because, like, every now and then he will literally venture out, like, stick his head out, put one paw, and then nope, go right in. A few weeks ago, I got to tell a story. It's really fucking funny. A few weeks ago, we're bringing in groceries in the house. I close the door behind me, and I hear a cat being murdered. I mean, just destroyed.
Oh, I'm gonna.
And I run out, and I'm freaking out. I throw open the door. There's the cat just staring at me with this look of horror on its face because it was locked outside for 45 seconds. This cat ran in the house so fast that it didn't even give me a chance to open the door completely. It smacked its head in the door on the way in, had to pull back, go right, and then go straight in. Because he just cannot outside. No, he total indoor cat. I've never had a cat like that before.
That's this one.
All
That's
right.
the way this one is.
We've gone way off course this time, so let's bring it back. Let's see. We've got an upgrade for tardigrades,
No, really.
but I don't have the link to the actual article.
It's in Axamon.
It's an Axamon. There's a Brian Hartsfield posted a.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Well, so does somebody want to give the lowdown on what's going on? Because
All right, so a little background. Anas Abdeen is a indie developer of the game Tardigrades. He's been working on this on his time over the last few years, and with the release of Star Trek Discovery, he noticed a few similarities to his concepts. So after making a few inquiries, he went through the process of suing CBS over copyright infringements because of the similarities. The judge ruled against him, and initially he seemed to take that in stride and move on. Then at the prodding of what we call the Fandom Menace and others, he decided to continue to pursue his legal complaints and is apparently in need of more money to continue that process.
Yeah, they raised a bunch of money for him. Apparently, it's all gone, and now he needs more money.
I wonder.
Surprise.
I wonder who it went to. This is the problem I had with the fundraiser in the first place.
Well, yeah, because we all know it went to his pocket, and then he didn't go to his legal team.
No,
I don't think it went to him at all.
I don't think it went to him. I don't think it went to him at all.
No, I don't think it went to him whatsoever. Yeah, I don't know how. Well, here's it. There's no way that that lawyer has done $25,000 worth of work for him in this case over the last how many months? I mean, it's only been a few months.
Oh yeah.
You know, this is an appeal, for God's sake.
Mhm.
So I don't understand how they could, But again, that lawyer is shady as fuck to begin with. I mean, that's been established.
Right.
So,
Well, here's the thing.
I really, it's like my sympathy, whatever sympathy I had for this guy, is just evaporated. I mean,
yeah.
we had sympathy whenever he was filing. He filed his initial lawsuit. We're like, okay, we'll see where this goes and see what happens.
No,
There were some pretty striking similarities between his concepts and some of the things that Star Trek Discovery had. The use of tardigrades as a form of interstellar travel, the basics of certain characters.
yeah,
And I mean,
but when laid out as they were in the ruling, You can't, and even in the motions filed by the parties, you can't, those don't amount to any kind of infringement here, even if there was any. And of course, they have to prove that they knew about this in advance. But regardless of that, the point being is, my feeling on this was that he felt slighted, okay, and not understanding that sometimes a cigar is just a cigar and a tardigrade is just a tardigrade, and there are coincidences in the world. And he had a bunch of people giving him really bad advice. And it should tell him something that, and it never did, because again, back to confirmation biases, he had to shop this to a bunch of different lawyers before a single one would take the case. And the ones that finally said, okay, we'll take the case, they have a history of unprofessional conduct. And now this other guy, he's got this witness on here who was forced to resign, that he's referring to, this guy, Chief Judge Rader, another shady character. It's like, look, man, take a look at who you're getting your legal advice from and your representation from, and who wouldn't represent you when you tried that, when you originally, started this whole thing. And do some introspection here. He just won't do it, because now he's got guys like Gary with Neurotic, Gary Buechler, Neurotic, that are, raised $25,000 for him, and it's just like, if you keep telling this guy that he's got a case when he doesn't, he's gonna believe it. You just keep building that up. And
so this is where I would like to poke the hole. Why do you have? Let me think of how to phrase this properly. Why do you not have any sympathy for Anas anymore, yet you still want to somehow have sympathy for the people who are constantly listening to the Fandom Menace? Because this is the exact same situation. It's just, this is a more high-profile case.
You think I have sympathy for people who listen to the Fandom Menace?
Then why the hell do we talk about them at all?
Oh, okay. No, that's not really having sympathy for the people that Fandom Menace. This is a matter of, just countering that false narrative. I think with them, that's where it is. I have no sympathy for those people at all anymore. They know what it's the same thing. You're absolutely correct. Their problem is, as opposed to Anas, who's keeping his situation self-contained to himself with his own situation. The problem with the followers of the Fandom Menace, they go and they spread this shit everywhere, like a cancer.
Yeah.
And it just grows and grows and grows. And that's, the difference. I can, like I said, I could have maintained a little sympathy for Anas Abedin, but again, just because I feel like he's being suckered more than anything else. He's getting drawn into for people with other agendas. But these other people are active participants in spreading the nonsense. And that's the problem.
Well, here's hoping there are significantly less of them after the 4chan links.
Yes.
By the way, I need to point out something that if you go to Neurotic's channel, there's absolutely no mention of Anas anywhere in his recent tweets. And the latest one is him bashing somebody else and getting shit for it in his comments.
Who is he bashing? What's that about?
Some dude named Mark Bauer.
Some rando he decided to pick a fight with.
Yep, and then he's getting all types of crap over it.
But
Final thoughts?
I have sympathy. I still have sympathy for Anas because he is being taken for a ride, and I do. And because he's not very fluent in English or understanding of the English culture or English law, he's being taken for a ride by people who are willing to take him for a ride, and he thinks everything's on the up and up.
And that's what's sad about this, and I gotta agree with.
I also have the same sympathy for the people who believe anything that comes out of the Dark Circle's mouth. Because they don't realize they're being taken for a ride, and
No.
here's this group taking them for a ride.
Well, again, it comes down to there's a difference between Anas and the other ones. So there are people out there. There are plenty of people out there that have such a hate for these franchises that they're willing to believe. This isn't about hate for Anas. He just feels he's been slighted. With these people, this is a matter of they have this dedication to their hate that they're willing to believe the Fandom Menace types and go spread their gospel, and that's and I have no sympathy for that. Is what I'm getting at. So
I can understand that. Yeah.
All right.
I can kind of see where Son's coming from as well, as far as having a little sympathy for Anas. Though my sympathy for him is dwindling now, mainly because of the speculation of him, manipulating his followers to try and get some sympathy towards him potentially getting these hate mail or
Yeah, that's my problem.
Forgot about that.
But then you have to turn around and ask the question: how much is that him actually doing that himself, and how much is that him being told to do that?
Right, exactly.
Well, that's why I said speculatory, basically.
That's why I think he was put
And
out
I
of
do
Forgot about that. Yeah.
I do very much believe he's a bit of a hypocrite, in the realm of like, oh, you're stealing my idea, but I'm also using like all this stuff from a completely different franchise in my stuff.
Oh yeah, remember he made it not just that, right? He wholesale ripped off Dune in just verbatim. He ripped off Dune.
Word for word.
Right? And on
it
top
was
of that,
Kowalski
that exposed that, right? And let's not forget he released a fucking Dexter game.
Exactly.
That CBS did not go after him for, which I was thinking to myself, you know what? That would have ended all this bullshit really quickly if CBS just simply countersued him for the Dexter game. Period.
All right.
Right then and there.
Let's wrap this up. We've got one more bit of legal/industry news to cover, and that is the merger between T-Mobile and Sprint.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about V-Bucks and taxes. Okay.
Oh, that didn't make it on my list for some reason.
It's in the Trello.
It's in the Trello. Yeah, it's just not on my docs. Okay, we'll lead with that one next. So, Son, you take this one.
Okay, so basically there's been a legal battle that stopping T-Mobile from taking over Sprint on the basis that it would cause unfair competition, yada, 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 the legal jargon for we're going to, this is going to start a monopoly, essentially.
Yeah. Antitrust issues, sure.
Right. Well, a judge pretty much smacked those arguments down, which has allowed the takeover to start to move forward.
Well, it's kind of, I'm going to let you finish it, but I wanted to just point out here that it would be very hypocritical for them to do that, considering the previous mergers of AT&T and DirecTV, the previous merger of AOL and Time Warner. And, there's the precedent over the past 20 years has been set for these mega mergers with these companies. So I'm not really, I personally, I don't see how the courts can say, no, you can't do this. Carry on though, son. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, no, I completely understand that the courts at this point can't say no anymore because there's 20 years of law behind all
Right.
these mega mergers.
Right.
At the same time, this is the third and the fourth largest carrier in the United States merging into one new carrier.
Under the name T-Mobile.
That severely takes a chunk of competition from the market and puts it squarely into one company's hands.
Mm-hmm. And I will tell you right now, as somebody who is in the telecom industry, that these mega mergers are nothing but bad news for the consumer. I'm not talking about prices. I'm talking about overall service in general.
Yep.
Because this is the biggest problem I deal with. I deal with a company, I deal with three major carriers in my job. I deal with Cox, CenturyLink, and Windstream. And Windstream is a carrier that has been doing nothing for the last 5 years but consuming smaller carriers. And their service is complete fucking shit because of it. And it's a huge problem for me being a third-party vendor, having to deal with them, because one hand never knows what the other hand is doing. When you talk to their fields in the tech, or fields in the tech, techs in the field, they'll tell you the same thing. It's like, we're screwed because they want us, they keep absorbing all these smaller companies. They don't add on the staff to cover the service. And at the same time, one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing, and it becomes incredibly frustrating. It seems like a great idea because, it's like with AT&T and DirecTV, I have never saved so much money between my cell phone service and my DirecTV subscription as I have since they merged. However, their service has gone to shit anytime I have issues. It's the same thing. So that's my take on this, that in the long run, I think your bigger problems, they always worry about the prices. Prices aren't the problem here. The problem is that the service goes to shit is what happens.
Well, that's not the only thing to keep in mind. As the example you had with AT&T, these carriers are also media companies. So you've got these companies that not only create the media, they control the network that delivers the media.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's another concern as well, right?
That's a huge concern. That's a freedom of information kind of
That's
concern.
Exactly. I mean, you get the information that they want to give you. Exactly.
This was the big problem and the big push over the net neutrality stuff.
Right.
And even though we've not seen it, we're still seeing a consolidation of media to the point that it could become a problem. I mean, we literally just had YouTube of all places, literally delete a C-SPAN video from Senator, what was it, Rand Paul, I believe it is?
Mm-hmm.
The younger one.
Yeah.
Because he was talking about, like, the whistleblower stuff. Didn't mention the whistleblower's name, just said the whistleblower in the mention. And YouTube deleted a C-SPAN video. That's
crazy.
terrifying.
Yep.
What is the cat?
I see your cat of doom has returned, Ross.
Yep. This is Dean.
But yeah, no, the service quality goes to absolute shit. Here in Arkansas built Alltel. Alltel came out of Arkansas. Alltel didn't do what they were supposed to do, so the federal government said, you can't be a service anymore. So they wound up folding and wound up selling to Verizon. Verizon took over and took on all those customers, and nobody knew who to contact when they had problems anymore, because all the Alltel stuff was still directing them to Alltel numbers that no longer worked or existed. And when you went to someone at Verizon, because Verizon was supposedly over all of that, nobody at Verizon had any of the Alltel contracts because they were never delivered.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's surprising.
so, and now what is it? Verizon's been folded into what? AT&T or Sprint?
No.
Or Verizon's still its own?
Verizon's still its own, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Now.
for now, yeah. But at this point, yeah, you can see the problems, that happen on all of this stuff, because there's not these regulations that are supposed to be in place anymore. They've been removed because it allows that quote unquote free hand of the market crap.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer in free market economies and allowing the market to fix itself. But here's at the end of the day, it's like, look, sometimes you've got to have regulation there, because there's just certain shit that you cannot depend on these major corporations to do. They're just not going to do it if they're not forced to do it. So You're right. This deregulation of this and deregulation by the courts who have allowed these mega mergers that would not have existed 40, 50 years ago. Don't forget, I mean, people probably have forgotten that there was one phone company in the entire United States at one time.
Southwestern Bell.
Yeah, Bell. And that was it. And they broke that shit up.
Yep, Southern Bell, Northern Bell, and then it all went to hell after that.
And now it's all becoming now they're all merging back and becoming one again. And it's upending everything for the consumer, I think, in my opinion.
For example, Time Warner and Spectrum that just merged recently. That was the big news last year, I think it was. Or the year before that.
Well, Spectrum just separated again.
Oh God!
But see, here's the thing. Here's the even worse implication. They're all merging back together into one without the regulation that broke them up in the first place.
Yep. No question.
So yeah, this is going to have lasting implications that we may not see for the next 5 to 10 years, but it will have lasting implications.
Yep. Welcome to the cyberpunk future. It is today.
We're going to start seeing, I mean, we're already seeing meter internet connections, home internet connections at that, where they're starting to put bandwidth limits on, like this home users. I mean, usually that used to be a cell phone thing, but now they're starting to have limits at home.
Mine is like that.
It's absolutely insane.
Well, I found the solution to this. See, it's interesting to me that I don't think in 10 years bandwidth limits have changed. It's been across the board, generally speaking, industry wide. It's a terabyte, okay, a month. But the problem we have now is that we are so much more dependent on the internet in our daily lives for our entertainment that it is not difficult for an average household to exceed that limit. Period. I got to the point where I was doing it so much, I said, "Fuck it, I'll pay the extra $20 to get unlimited." Because most people don't even know they have a cap until they get a letter or an email from their carrier, from their ISP saying, "Hey, guess what? You're at 85%, and after that, we're going to start adding $10 more for every 50 gigs you go over." And so I got to the point where I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just done." But the problem is that terabyte cap on home internet is not. It's really becoming to the point where it's archaic. It's an archaic standard to have.
And there's no incentive for them to improve.
No, exactly. There isn't. Right. You just do what I do. You be a schmuck and you pay an extra $20 to get unlimited. So.
Yeah, there's no regulation, so you can't do it. So, I mean, they're going to do is they're nickel and dime you as much as they can. That's the sad part about it.
I think that's probably the most beautiful thing about where I live. I'm using DSL right now, and it's charged for the connection speed, not a cap.
That's the thing is that if you look, I guarantee if you look close at your contract, that you will find that there actually is a cap. The thing about it is most people don't think about it because it's like for one person's not going to exceed their 1 terabyte cap unless all they're doing all day long is torrenting. If you're doing that 24 hours a day for a month, yes, you will exceed your cap, but one person. But if you got like mine, you got a family of 5. I got Disney Plus on one. I got YouTube going on another. I've got Netflix going on another. And this is all at the same time. I got me doing stupid podcasts here, making myself look like a big dope. Okay? I mean, this shit, it all adds up, with it when you've got a large family. And the cap is usually universal for regardless. But you just won't ever hear about it because it won't affect you based on your use because you're one person. So yeah, it's
but I am on the internet 24/7. So
yeah, but here's the thing: you're not constantly.
We're almost out of time. We got to wrap it up.
You're not constantly torrenting or doing heavy file transfers, very large file transfers. I'm on the internet all the time too, but it's a different type of being on the internet.
Okay. All right, so we've come to that point in the show. It's time for What Are We Watching? Travis, why don't you lead us off?
What am I watching? Well, there's a couple things I am watching. I recently finished the very first season of Breaking Bad for the very first time, and I thought it was fantastic. I'm also watching on Hulu right now. I'm dipping my toes into a show called Siren, and it's interesting enough.
All right. Son, how about you?
I watched the latest episode of Doctor Who, which I think we'll be covering next week because it's a two-parter. So we'll roll everything together at that point. But other than that, I think other than that, I really haven't been watching a whole lot other than Ross stream Death Stranding and his friend Dayspring stream Horizon Zero Dawn. So those have been interesting. Also, I've been watching a streamer called Blind Ryan, who's like legit a blind guy. And he does stuff like RimWorld, and he's been streaming Disco Elysium lately, which is an amazingly built RPG video game. Amazing, because like everybody in the industry says you can't do that stuff anymore, and here's this little team from like, what is it, Lithuania, that did it.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
All right. Justin.
Let's see. Well, at Sean's request, I started watching Avenue 5.
I don't think I requested that.
I started watching the first few minutes of it. I said, "Oh, this is shit," and he's like, "No, you need to watch the rest of it." And I watched the rest of it. And I thought, "Gosh, damn it, I'm hooked on this one too."
I only kind of recommended it in passing. I was really suggesting you watch The Outsider on HBO, which comes on before it.
but that's next on my list. I also watched the Harley Quinn animated. That's actually pretty good. I recommend to check that out if you haven't yet. Let's see here. I'm getting caught up in all my CW shows. I've been behind since Crisis, so I just kind of got caught up in them, and that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you, Sean.
I guess go back into 24 again. I made a point of this earlier. I'm in the middle of season 3 again, and
I gotta get back to that show.
Oh, man, I can just throw it on anytime, and I just fall right back into it. But Narcos Mexico season 2 dropped on Friday night, and I burned through 7 episodes last night. I was up to 5 in the morning. If you guys have never watched the Narcos franchise on Netflix, I highly recommend it. It is good shit. So it is incredibly well done.
All right, thank you. Well, as for me, much like Sun, I've been watching a lot of streamers lately. My friend Dayspring Gaming has been playing Horizon Zero Dawn, my absolute favorite PlayStation title of this generation. If you have a PlayStation, I highly recommend it. There's rumor it's coming out to PC soon. Let's see. Another one of Dayspring's friends was playing Daemon Ex Machina. Very interesting mecha anime style game. Looked like a lot of fun. Watching a lot of Bob the Builder with the kiddo lately. But getting used out of CBS All Access and Star Trek. And probably the highlight of what I've watched this week was the Iowa Wild versus the San Diego Gulls, a hockey game I took my wife to yesterday, which is a lot of fun.
If we're talking sports, I've actually gotten a little curious. I'm actually keeping one eye on the XFL, believe it or not.
Yeah,
I can't believe
I've been interested in that revival and see if it lasts any longer than the last time.
I am hoping it can succeed. I mean, I have no grievances against the NFL. I'm not the biggest football guy. I'm much more into baseball, but I do remember the dumpster fire that 2001 was as far as the XFL is concerned. Yeah. I am hoping that it can go forward.
Anything's got to be better than 2001 because that was an unholy mess.
Speaking of unholy messes, I'm no longer watching Treadstone.
He's broken his addiction.
About time.
Oh,
And let's see. Last on my list, the volume 7 of Ruby finally wrapped. So I'm kind of without a major animated series to watch now. All right.
Well, I do look at one final bit. For those of you who are into the Orville Interactive on Steam, they have just started their new beta program. So if you want to opt into the beta through Steam. Yeah, it got some cool stuff. Check it out.
All right. Well, that brings us to a close for this week. Thank you, everyone, for watching tonight. All you guys on Twitch, glad to have you here. Thank you for dropping by. Everyone who's watching on YouTube, thank you for taking the time. Be sure to like and subscribe so that we can continue to bring this show to you, to bring all the geekiness, the fun, and everything else. So,
And if you're really lucky, Carlos might be back next week.
if not, the eyebrows of doom and the Doom Hammer shall
Dun, dun,
continue
dun.
to reign supreme.
My breath. He's the worst.
he is the worst.
All right.
Worst.
We'll see you guys next week for our next Star Trek Picard and next Sunday for more of the main podcast.
And remember, I'm always archiving.
I love
And of
that.
course, remember to live, to love, and to play every day.
Black alert.